Hello everyone, how are you? I'm CA Shubhi Jain and I hope that all of you are doing really great. Well, with this video, I bring upon another two important elements which would result into a missing of free consent. In last video, we understood what is free consent and what are the ways in which we can say that a contract lacks free consent. We discussed 2 points earlier, that is coercion and undue influence. In this video, we are going to discuss about fraud and misrepresentation. So let's get started with the first one of them, that is fraud. Fraud is nothing but doing an act with an intention to cause any sort of disadvantage to the other. So that is fraud in general words. It can be caused by an act or even by silence. Generally, a silence do not amount to fraud unless it is caused by two reasons. That is, number one is where there is a duty of the parties to speak, or number two, where the silence itself amounts to speech. So let's deal with the first part, that is when does a duty of the party arises to speak, that is they are not supposed to stay silent. There are four such circumstances. Number one, there exists any sort of fiduciary relationship between the parties, that is there exists a relationship of trust or confidence among them, because of which they are supposed to say all the things which is essential to bring upon or understand each and every element of the contract. The another point will be in the case of contracts of insurance. Third is the contracts of marriage, and the fourth one is contracts of the family settlement. In all these four cases, it is considered that it is the responsibility or the duty of each and every party to speak their part of truth and bring upon the table all the essential elements that are required to enter into a valid contract. The other case where silence will be deemed to be a fraud is in a situation where silence itself amounts to speech. For example, if I enter into a contract or I offer to sell certain kind of goods to you, and if I do not say anything about their quality, so the first thing that you're going to assume about the quality of the goods is that they are of superior quality, they are of great stuff, and that is exactly what you need. But now suppose that when you take back those goods home and you realize that they are not of an appropriate quality, so does that thing amounts to a fraud? Of course that amounts to a fraud, because I have hidden a very essential element in respect of the quality of the said goods that I sold you. So these are the situations where silence will be deemed as a fraud. However, in circumstances where the parties were given an ample opportunity or they had their own particular means to find out the truth behind the contract or any sort of the conditions because of which they are entering into the contract, then in that particular case, even if there exists silence regarding the essential element, it will not be considered to be a fraud. For example, in the case where I sold the goods to you guys and I gave you an opportunity to inspect the goods before we can enter into a contract for sale of those goods. Now, when I've given you an option for inspection, it is your duty to ensure that the goods are of the exact quality that you are demanding from me. If the goods are not of the expected quality, either you should reject the offer of the sale or or you should further negotiate with me. But if you haven't done any of these two things, then I cannot be held responsible that I sold goods which were not of the appropriate quality to you. So I will not be held responsible, and the situation and the contract will not be considered as if it missed any sort of free consent. Now, the another important element in which the consent is generally considered to be missing is misrepresentation. Well, misrepresentation is nothing but falsely putting or claiming about the nature of a certain item. वो जैसे हिंदी में कहावत है ना, हाथी के दांत दिखाने के और खाने के कुछ और, सेम उसी टाइप की thing. That is exactly what misrepresentation is, as if to pretend something which is not there in reality or which is not the nature of that particular stuff. Wherever a contract is entered because of coercion, undue influence, fraud, or misrepresentation, the contract can be avoided. That is, it becomes avoidable contract at the option of the one of the party whose consent is involved in it, as in who is giving their acceptance. And that's all for all the 4 points that in which the consent is generally considered to be missing. Now we are left with one more point, that is mistake, which will be dealt with in the another video. Hope this video helps you. All the best for your exams. Bye bye.